Deed.
Abdi Quib Deed was a political advisor to Mohammed Farah Aidid.
I was Interior Minister for General Aidid. We were meeting to discuss our situation with the American forces.
All of the intellectuals and present at this meeting were elders of the Haber-Gitter clan, some of whom were opposed to the militant posture that Aidid had taken against the UN.
They were actually meeting there to try and get Aidid to comply with all UN and US demands.
They were hashing out what to do about their relationship with the UN when a number of Cobra helicopters from the UN peacekeeping force surrounded the building.
And Aidid was in a bind.
From the air and began pumping tow missiles, killing 50 to 70 people, basically slaughtering.
The American helicopters kept shelling and shelling the house, killing everyone.
At the time, called it a cold-blooded murder.
From that day forward, the Haber-Gitter clan, including many of the people who had been opposed to Aidid's posture against the UN, were now basically at war against the UN and the United States.
I was horrified, because if you know anything about the Somalis, you know what it means. They're just going to fight to the last man to get their revenge.
With
UN human rights officer.
intelligence unable to locate Aidid in the hostile city, Task Force Ranger begins targeting Aidid's closest advisors, called Tier 1 personalities.
Two of these Tier 1 personalities were Omar Salad and Hassan Awale. Both of them were spotted at a rally in Mogadishu on Sunday, October 3rd, and were followed from this rally back to a house in central Mogadishu near the Olympic Hotel in the Bakara Market. And so a decision was formed that they were at that location to launch a raid to try and arrest them.
It was very, very good intel. The guys were there. Let's go pick them up.
Sunday, 2:49
Was made once the intelligence confirmed.
p.m. Aidid's lieutenants are spotted entering a residence near central Mogadishu. Delta commanders retreat to the Joint Operations Command Center, or JOC, to formulate a plan. Delta Force will insert directly to the target building via MH-6 Little Bird helicopters. While Delta operators arrest the prisoners, 4 teams of Rangers, known as Chalks, will fast rope to the ground from Blackhawks and provide perimeter security for Delta. The Blackhawks will then serve as air support above the target house. A convoy of 12 vehicles, already en route to the target building, will evacuate all soldiers and prisoners back to the Ranger base.
Figured if it took more than a half hour, they were going to run into serious trouble.
Everything is speed-oriented on one of these, because obviously if you're trying to get somebody, they're not going to remain static for long.
By now, the young men in particular of Task Force Ranger, the Rangers, were pretty cocky about these missions.
I think we all had this Superman mentality.
I felt almost as if we were so overpowering that the Somalis couldn't touch us.
But this time, the Rangers are heading into a very different situation.
The house that Omar Salad and Hassan Awale retreated to was in one of the worst neighborhoods in Mogadishu as far as the Americans were concerned. It was Aidid's stronghold neighborhood, so there was a lot of armed gunmen there. It was just blocks away from the Bakara Market, which is one of the largest arms markets in that part of the world. They also tended to work at night. They'd done half of their missions anyway at night, and it was always more dangerous to go out during the daytime.
The daylight raid will pit the Americans against Aidid's Morion in the midst of their narcotic Khat cycle.
And they tend to begin sort of socially chewing this drug early in the afternoon so that agitated, active state. But by mid-afternoon, they are probably at their most. Because there were 2 of these primary targets at the same location, it was a very juicy opportunity.
We knew we were going into what they called Indian territory. We knew it was really not a great part of town for us to be in. We weren't real popular.
Garrison was aware of how dangerous the Bakara Market neighborhood was. In writing about it in a letter some days before, he'd actually said that there are places in the city where we could go where we will win the battle, but we could end up losing the war.
Force Ranger are enjoying a rare day off in Mogadishu.
The call came at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon for them to what they called kit up, which was to get dressed up because they were going out on a mission.
We got the word to go. Get it on.
Threw on all the armor and, you know, our ammo and everything.
You know, everyone had all their gear ready, always.
Everybody was on the aircraft. Everybody was on the vehicles. The engines were running. The rotors were turning. We were just waiting for the word.
The code word for launching the mission was Irene, and Irene was announced at 3:30 on October 3rd, Sunday afternoon. A force of about 19 Black Hawk helicopters and Little Birds took off from the hangar on the air base in Mogadishu and headed out over the Indian Ocean.
We went out around the city, came in hard and fast like we always do, and without a doubt we were going in.
Once over the site, Delta Force operators hit the ground, jumped off of the benches of the Little Bird helicopters right in front of the target building and raided it and successfully arrested Omar Salad and Hassan Awali, their two targets for that raid, along with about 20 other Somalis who were in the house.
It went like clockwork initially. The assault force was inserted. We kept snipers orbiting above and the Hawks providing surgical cover fire.
While they were arresting them, Rangers began roping down from Black Hawk helicopters to four corners around that target block.
I just remember it was so high up.
It seemed like I was on that rope forever until I hit the ground.
And the games began. I mean, it was pretty fast. And the civilians that were in the areas moving in towards us.
I got down there and it was just total, you know, I felt it. I felt panic.
This time we were still getting on the ground and they were already shooting at us.
It wasn't this huge volume of fire, but well-placed rounds.
You don't know how you're going to react when that first bullet zings by your head or the first guy comes out in front of you, what you're going to do.
After that, I guess, is when everything started to go south.
As soon as the task force launched the raid or hit the ground, the alarm was sounded throughout the city. One of the things that the Somalis would do is set tires on fire, which would serve as a signal for people from far away to come to that spot.
And our population here, as usual, everybody took his gun.
I could see from a distance where they were dropping in from helicopters near the Olympic Hotel, so I immediately rushed the area.
We were patrolling in our technicals when we were ordered to the fight.
From our point of view, we were provoked to fight. We had no choice but to defend ourselves.
So from the minute the Rangers and the Delta Force operators hit the ground, the forces opposed to them were massing and growing in number as every minute went by.
As the Rangers fast rope in, the ground convoy races to the target building as planned.
I started to see right away that there was more gunfire there than on any of the previous missions.
We started taking small arms fire. It was more accurate already, and there was more volume.
We could tell that someone was waiting for us. Someone was ready. Well, when I turned the corner, we were already shooting. There's a couple guys in a doorway shooting, and they were pretty brazen. They were right there, and they were shot down. Seeing those first two guys, I knew that people were definitely dying in this mission, and it was going to be up close and personal.
As the ground convoy fights its way to the objective, a Ranger is already down just north of the target building.
One of the first things that went wrong was that one of the young Rangers, a Ranger named Todd Blackburn, missed the rope as he went out the helicopter and plummeted 70 feet to the street.
I turned around, I saw my best friend, Todd Blackburn, just sitting lifeless on the ground. He just had his eyes rolled back and his cape was off. I didn't know to what extent, how much enemy was out there. All I knew was somebody was firing at us. And I remember turning around and seeing Galentine. One minute he's firing down the road, and the next minute I just see bright red. And I was like, oh my Lord, I mean, this is